Hello, everyone. There are so many barriers to indie game development. And have you ever felt like there's just this one wall that you can't seem to get over? No matter how much you try to work at it, chip away, or no matter how high you even try to jump, it just seems like you can't make any progress. And you look back, man, I used to work so hard at this. Things are starting to slow down, and maybe you even quit for a little while, or maybe you never come back to this project and instead you start something new. And I don't think it has anything to do with being lazy or losing motivation for your project. Instead, I think there's something much deeper going on that I honestly don't see too many people discussing in the game dev space. And of course, that thing is confidence. Hello, my name is Maria. Today, I want to talk to you about confidence and how it leads to perfection. And you see, for me, it all begins when I released my last Lessons in Game Dev video. That video took off flying, and once it reached 2,000 viewers, I started to realize that maybe this was something that I could do or at least talk about. And it taught me the importance of story, and I began to cry. And while I was dealing with those emotional highs and those emotional lows, something else was going on. The desire to make sure that the quality of the next video was at least the same, if not even better. But of course, the problem with that was I had no idea why that video had succeeded to begin with. So that led me down a spiral of watching hundreds of videos, from Film Booth to Think Media to other content creators. And at the end of all of that, I had to ask myself, why am I doing this? Why aren't I just making videos that I want to make about topics that I wished I could have listened to a couple of years ago? And that thought made me realize that I was doing the exact same thing with my games. I was trying to create something that could be perfect, that didn't have that many bugs, that someone might say, wow, this is really amazing for a free game. Let me check this person out. And perhaps what's even worse is that I realized that all of the times that I got stuck and that I would go grab Google real quick and be like, Google, I'm looking for this or that. And Google would give me a result. And then I'll be like, great, so I have all this stuff. And I'll just move along with the tutorial step by step if it's a video tutorial, or maybe I'll just grab interesting parts from the text and I'll put them into my game, and then I'll be like, awesome, we did it, look guys, it works. Then I have to stop and ask myself, does that actually work? Is this game development when we go and grab all these different things? And while I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with tutorials, I mean, people get stuck all the time. It would be impossible to know everything when it comes to game development. The problem is when we copy them exactly how they look, so we get the exact same results without even thinking about how does this even apply to my game. And then I was watching a video that was discussing about how if a video really took off, the creator would be like, yes, look at this awesome thumbnail that I did. Look at this amazing script that I wrote and voiced over. But if the video failed, then they would blame the algorithm. And so I asked myself, was I doing the exact same thing? And the answer was yes. If the game was a success, then great. I would be like, yes, look, I did it. I did something wonderful. But then if the game failed, I would be like, well, I just followed a bunch of tutorials, so it was a shield that I could hide behind. So how do we get out behind from this shield and help us get out from being stuck? Create something that's more unique to us and what we believe in and what we value as individuals. And while I think ironing out your why is definitely something that's extremely important, I don't want to go into too much detail about that again, as I already did that in this video. Instead, I want to focus on something else, which is trying to trust yourself and others, as well as finding that perfect balance, what's right for you, as I don't think a 50-50 split is going to cover it for every single individual out there. And the first step is just honestly talking to people, which is something I even struggle with, as it's easier to keep trying to work and chip away at it than it is to stop and talk with someone with what you're currently struggling with. But if we did stop and talk to someone, we might be able to work through what the exact issue is, or at the very very least have our feelings processed and acknowledged so that way we can feel better about what comes next in our own independent journey. And that's why I would urge you to find a place that you can call home, whether that be Reddit, someone else's Discord, or you can even join my Discord if you want to, link in the description. And we can talk about the struggles that you're currently facing and what could potentially help you get over them. And I know there's going to be someone that says, well, what if the person I'm talking to doesn't want to help me or rejects me? And if that's the case, then find someone else. Because as long as you're being upfront and honest about what it is that you want from the conversation and what you are going to take away, then it's okay. Just like it's okay for someone to say, hey, I don't really have the time or I can't do this right now, as I've known some YouTubers and other individuals have gotten burned out from trying to help too much, which goes back to everything just being a balance for what fits for you. And that leads me to my next point, which is just be more self-aware of what's going on around you and within inside of you, because you can watch all of the motivational videos that you want, try to find all of the right answers, but none of it's going to matter if you don't take what works for you and try to work out a plan specifically tailored for your situation. It's like if I called a plumber over to be like, hey, can you fix my toilet? And then when he gets here, I give him a hammer. It's just not going to work. It's the wrong tools for the job. Yet I feel like many of us do this over and over again. We see someone who's successful who may even say, hey, this is what you need to do in order to be successful. And so we try to mimic that plan one for one, and then when it doesn't work out, we blame ourselves. We say, well, I guess I'm the problem because this person who's successful and is a figure in the field says that it should have worked, and because it didn't, well, I'm the problem. Instead of saying that plan is great, it just doesn't work for me because of my situation. Therefore, I think we all need to spend a little bit more time asking ourselves, was it the plan or something in the environment, rather than just instantly starting to blame ourselves? Also, if you are stuck and then you finish something, sit with that victory for a while. We often have a tendency when we complete something, just immediately move on to the next thing. But I think if we just stop, let the feeling of overcoming something that had prevented us from moving on for even 5 minutes, it can help let you feel the victory within yourself. That way you're motivated to keep moving on because you have that feeling of, I can do this. Let's go ahead and move on to the next part. Final thing I want to mention is in the context of the tutorials. Instead of just blindly copying or taking what someone else has done and throwing it into your own game, ask yourself, does this fit within the context of my world? What can I change to make it more uniquely mine? For example, if you're making a platformer, but your platformer relies more heavily on mid-air combat, maybe your character should have some kind of floaty jump to help compensate for the airtime needed in order to do the combat correctly. Which brings me back to my final point. In order for any of this to happen, you have to start trusting yourself and making the things that you want to make and believe in to begin with. This makes it better for everyone involved because this is how new things get invented and how games change to become hit wonders. Because it's something that hasn't been seen for a very long time, or it's something that innovates on something that is currently popular. And of course, you will probably end up making a few mistakes, which is why I'm a big believer that you should playtest often enough, especially once you have your core gameplay loop, so that way people can test it out and let you know if it's something that's going to work or not work before you go into the effort of spending a lot of time on something that just may not be something that players want to play in the end. And that's okay. You're going to have a lot of steps on your journey to find that one thing that really fits for you and what you want to do. So as we wrap things up here, I did want to go ahead and mention that through this past month, I've realized part of my mission that I want to achieve here with Iceberg Studios is to help other indie game developers create games, because part of my belief is that the more stories and games that exist out there, the better for everyone involved. And thus, I started up my newsletter where I hope to share plenty of resources for other creators on stuff that I wish I had when I first started out a couple of years ago. All of this is in the hopes that it can aid in some way of kickstarting someone's own journey into indie game development. Of course, the newsletter itself is going to also contain some stuff that I've been up to over the past month, and eventually, hopefully, include stuff for gamers as well. Furthermore, I don't think it would be fair for me to talk about all these things and not go ahead and release the demo for Annie's Cross. Thus, you can join the Discord link in the description to get access to a channel where I will have posted the demo so you can try out the game for yourself. And finally, if you're still here at the end, thank you so much for watching and joining me on this journey. If you haven't yet, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and give the video a like if you got any value out of it. It may seem like such a simple thing to you, but it really means a lot to me if you could just go ahead and do that, as it aids me in my own journey as well as motivating me to keep making more videos like this in the future. So with all that being said, remember to stay awesome, keep creating, and spark the imagination. Until next time, take care, friends.